Major Patrick W. Miller received his commission in the Medical Service Corps from St. Bonaventure University in 2003 while earning a Bachelor of Science in Physical Education. He holds a Master's in Business Administration and a Master's in Public Administration from Syracuse University. He has served in a wide variety of both field and fixed medical units. After the AMAD Officer Basic course in 2003, he was assigned to the 1st Cavalry Division at Fort Hood, Texas. While assigned to 1st Cav, he served as a medical platoon leader for 1st Battalion, 9th Cavalry Regiment, and deployed to Baghdad, Iraq for 13 months. After redeploying in 2005, Major Miller was assigned as an ambulance platoon leader and executive officer for Charlie Company 15th Brigade Support Battalion before moving to become the Battalion Assistant Operations Officer. He deployed to Baghdad, Iraq for 15 months, serving as an Iraqi Brigade Logistics Advisor for 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 1st Cavalry Division. Upon redeploying in 2008, he attended the Defense Comptrollership Program at Syracuse University, followed by a utilization tour at Fort Sam Houston in 2010. After the AMAD Officer Advanced course, he was assigned to the Fort Sam Houston Dental Activity, where he took company command. In 2011, following company command, he was assigned as Chief of Resource Management for United States Army Medical Activity, Fort Drum, New York. In 2013, he served as Brigade Comptroller / S8 for 1st Medical Brigade at Fort Hood, Texas. Major Miller is currently attending the United States Army Command and General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and is scheduled to become the Chief of Business Operations at Tripler Army Medical Center in Hawaii this summer. His military education includes the AMAD Officer Basic and Advanced courses and the Light Fighter School Commando course. Major Miller's awards and decorations include the Soldier's Medal, Bronze Star with Oak Leaf Cluster, Meritorious Service Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, Army Commendation Medal with 2 Oak Leaf Clusters, Army Achievement Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Iraq Campaign Medal with 4 Service Stars, Global War on Terror Expeditionary Medal, and the Global War on Terror Service Medal. He has earned the Combat Medical Badge, Parachutist Badge, and the Air Assault Badge. Major Miller is also a Certified Defense Financial Manager. Without further ado, our very own Major Patrick Miller.
Colonel Mrs. Zender, Master Sergeant Mrs. Hall, Lieutenant Colonel Mrs. Traley, distinguished guests, friends, family, fellow Bonnies, it's an honor to be here. He already told you, I'm Pat Miller, graduated from here in 03. Just looking at you guys right now, let me tell you, the Seneca Battalion, you guys look good. You guys look real good. And I can't tell you how great it is to be back here, to be back in St. Bonaventure, to be back in Western New York. I want to start off saying that I sat in your seats 12, 13, 14 years ago, and I remember guest speakers coming up here, and they seemed really, a lot older than me, and they talked for 20 minutes, and it's really dry, and everybody lost interest, and we lost our buzz, and it was just like, all right, let's wrap this up. But I won't be that guy. But no, honestly, like, the first thing I want to say, I want to commend you guys. I'm sounding really old right now. Your generation, okay? Your generation is a lot different from where I was 12, 13 years ago. It's a different army. It can't be understated. You guys are volunteering, okay, to go into the army, to serve with the greatest organization in this country. You're volunteering to do that during a time of war, okay? Everybody close your eyes and think of where you were on 9/11. Everybody knows, right? Because we don't forget stuff like that. And we darn sure don't forget that. I was in MS3, I was a junior when the planes hit the towers. And when that moment happened, everything changed. We knew it as cadets, we knew it as friends and family. We knew we're now a nation at war, stuff's about to get real. You guys were all, what, 7, 8, 9 years old? You know, so your whole adolescent and young adult life has been during a time of war. Seeing the news, seeing older brothers, cousins, friends, you know, do deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq, and hearing good news stories, and maybe even some not good news stories. But yet, here you are, as cadets, on one of the most prestigious, you know, universities and ROTC programs there is. So hats off to you. Most, if not all of you, probably I've already heard my story, but I'd like to share with you real quick for a couple minutes. Almost a year ago today, on April 2nd, 2014, it will be a year this Thursday, Specialist Ivan Lopez was at Fort Hood, Texas, assigned to the 49th Transportation Battalion. And he showed up that day with a .45 caliber Smith & Wesson and killed 3 fellow soldiers and wounded 16 others before eventually taking his own life. I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was a Wednesday, it was cloudy, it was just a normal day. I was the Brigade S8, a Brigade Staff Officer at a headquarters building, and we had a half-empty building. We had a Brigade Talk X going on, an exercise, so we had like a skeleton crew in the building, which turned out to be a blessing in the end. But I was in my office. It was an individual office inside a much larger Brigade S4 office, which, for those of you who don't know, there's about 10 or 12 soldiers in there. And we were kind of sitting around, checking emails, wrapping the day up, and all of a sudden we're sitting in the office and we hear bang, 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 6, 7, 8 gunshots, just like that. And we all know what that sound is. We've all heard that noise, whether you're deployed, whether you're at the range. We're attuned to that sound. We're not attuned to hearing that sound when you're sitting at the office, when you're sitting in class, with a pen and pencil. And when that happens, people freeze. You're processing this information. You don't really know what to do. And once the gunshots went off, it goes silent. You hear somebody say, "Are those gunshots?" Some people start sprinting down the hall outside. You hear doors slamming. And immediately, I got up, because again, you don't really have time to think and process what's going on. It's fight or flight. You just kind of react. And I got up out of my office, and I just yelled at everybody in the Brigade S4 and said, "All right, everybody get down, hide, lock the doors." And I went out the hallway where the gunshots came from. And again, don't ask me what I was thinking, because I really wasn't. It was more reacting, seeing if I could render some kind of medical aid or help someone or possibly disarm the shooter or I don't know. This whole thing took place in like 6 seconds that I'm describing. So I'm out there and I see this specialist, this E4, about 30 feet down the hall, kind of looking down, bebopping down the hallway, 1,000-yard stare. And I looked at him and I'm like, "Dude," I was like, "get out of the hallway, get in S3. I was like, don't be out there." And he looks at me, dead in the eyes. And he starts running towards me. I'm kind of halfway in, halfway out of the door, and again, this is all within 2 or 3 seconds, and I remember vividly thinking, okay, this kid wants to come into my office for protection. This young specialist wants to, take shelter in my office. He sees, Major Miller standing there, he's gonna come to me. And at that point, he ran right up to me and shot me point blank in the stomach with a .45. And it was the last round in his magazine, otherwise I probably wouldn't be here today. And so I'm standing there in the doorway, ears ringing, I was like, I just got shot, man, it's not cool. So, so he's fumbling around trying to reload, and I looked at him, and I just pushed him as hard as I could out of the doorway, shut and locked the door, and then you go into react mode, and adrenaline takes over, and I started calling 911 with one hand, I'm putting pressure on it with the other, there was no exit wound. So I ran around the other side of the office because there was another door he could have got in. And I made sure I ran around to that side, shut and locked that door, so both doors were locked in the big office. And then I started grabbing folks that were under their desks and in the cubicles, hiding, "Hey, come with me, come with me to my office." And I grabbed them and went into my individual office, shut the door so we were behind 2 locked doors, and get away from the doors, get away from the windows. And one guy looks up at me, "Sir, you're hit." No kidding. So long story short, they couldn't send an ambulance or EMS in or anything because they were still cordoning the area. Fort Hood had the shooting with Hassan in 2009, so they had tightened up some of their SOPs and their responses and stuff, and they were trying to they as in the EMS were trying to get a hold of the situation, and nobody out of the buildings. They were cordoning the area, but they couldn't send an ambulance in. So for 45 minutes, I was laying there with my gym towel, putting pressure on, trying to stop bleeding. And about 20 minutes in, I'm like, "Man, this sucks." I'm like, "You know what? Sure enough, I'm like, what a crappy way to go." Here I am, 30 years old, all this stuff. You survived, 2.5 years in Baghdad, Iraq, all these deployments, all the crazy stuff that we've done as kids, growing up. And it's going down like this, like, no bueno. And, but as I was laying there, I remember saying to myself, you know what? It's been 20-25 minutes. I'm not coughing up blood or spitting up any blood. I can control my breathing. I'm cognizant of the situation. I'm gonna live, but I need to get out of this office and I need to get to the hospital now. And so at that point, I had the lieutenant yell out the window because we hear the cops and SWAT and everybody outside in the intersection. And they yelled out the window, and help came, little PFC came to the door, and I ended up crawling out the window and getting Buddy carried to the back of an empty truck, and they took me to the hospital. So again, long story short, 2 weeks in the ICU, 3 major surgeries, a bout with pneumonia, multiple infections later. This last year has been the most challenging, but also probably the most rewarding time of my life. Every day, you count your blessings, and you're absolutely lucky to be alive. Bullet went through my colon, fractured a rib, and got stuck in my back. Missing my heart, my spine, my spleen by inches. So if you don't think there's angels watching over us every day, you're wrong. I'm here now. We're here now. We all have a lot more living to do. Okay, so appreciate those around you. Like Colonel Zender was saying, listen to what he had to say. Take it to heart. Okay, don't take advantage of people or situations, and just learn to appreciate everybody and everything in your life, every minute and every day. And I know as Bonnies, you're going to do that. I just want to wrap up or say a few things. Some takeaways and some things going forward, especially to UMS4s that are getting ready to get commissioned. You go out and force and do good things. But also, it just doesn't apply to you. It applies to the 3s, the 2s, even the freshmen. As future as cadets, as everybody in this room, as leaders in our everyday life. The Army Leader Requirements Model. It's relatively new. You're all probably very familiar with it by now. If not, you will be. And it's broken down into attributes and competencies. And I want you to kind of take these to heart. Or at least after listening to this story, I want you to think about how that's going to impact you in your life, in your job, in your family going forward. The first one is character. Character reveals itself when things are going bad, not necessarily when they're going good. Okay, no one lived the Army values. That's not coach speak. Know them and live them every day. Dignity and respect count. You all need to have a non-negotiable stance on integrity. Non-negotiable. Next one is presence. As officers in the Army, as cadets, as leaders, you need to have presence. Military and professional bearing. Fitness, do PT. Don't show up to your unit fat. Be confident and be competent. You will be judged by it. NCOs, lean on them. Learn from them. I talked to the 2s and 3s last week. Okay, take that to heart. And then finally, resiliency. Bad things are going to happen in your life. We're all going to get our bloody noses. We're all going to get kicked down. We're going to fail a test. We're going to lose a job. We're going to lose a loved one. Somebody in our life is going to hurt us at one point or another. It's not about what happens. It's about how you react. It's about how you respond. That's what counts going forward. How you respond will not only define your legacy, but it'll define your life. Intellect, mental agility, keep sound judgment, all these buzzwords, but learn from your experiences over time. Don't just throw stuff away. And it doesn't have to be in the military, in life. Use interpersonal tact, keep your ego in check, and take a daily dose of humility. And if you're really good, then double the dose. I, me, mine, don't use those words literally. Because then a sense of service turns into a sense of entitlement. And finally, the leader competencies. Leads, develops, and achieves. Lead by example, set the standard. Do it. Okay? Your superiors, your peers, your subordinates, they're all watching. They're all going to take notes. Do the right thing when nobody's looking. Integrity again. Prepare yourself, develop others, manage your time, don't outsource your mind. Okay, you're all gonna have bachelor's degrees from Bonas. Be proud of it. Use what you learn. Become a steward of the profession. And finally, achieves. Get results, because that's the bottom line. Results-based business. And I have no doubt you will. Finally, in closing, I told you I'm not gonna, this isn't gonna be long, but I wanted to read you a brief script out of Corinthians, a passage out of Corinthians. Corinthians 4, 8-9, 16-18. We have troubles all around us. We are not defeated. We do not know what to do, but we do not give up the hope of living. We are persecuted by God. We are persecuted, but God does not leave us. We are hurt sometimes, but we are not destroyed. So we do not give up. Our physical body is getting older and weaker, but our spirit inside us is made new every day. We all have small troubles for a while now, but they are helping us gain an eternal glory that is much greater than the troubles. We set our eyes not what we see, but what we cannot see. I want to thank you all very much for this opportunity to just listen to me for a few minutes and to be your guest speaker. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege. I'm proud of you all. Don't even know you. For your Bonnies. We're a family. One team, one fight. And once a Bonnie, always a Bonnie. You get one shot at this life. Make every day count. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to propose a toast to honor our guest, Major Patrick Miller. Here, here.